to Cool Happenings. Everything I find cool and amazing. Your one-stop channel for all your accessible tech solutions.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon, so you never miss any new updates, cause whenever we upload new video you will get a notification on your phone.
Assalamu alaikum and hello to everybody. Hope you're doing well in whichever part of the globe you are. Hope you're doing absolutely wonderfully, perfectly fine. My name is Naim Osman from Kenya in East Africa, currently residing in Jordan in the Middle East. Today I would like to present a tutorial on an app called Downcast. Now, for those who don't know, Downcast is a podcast app. That is to say that it's an app through which you can download podcasts, you can manage your podcast, you can subscribe to podcasts. And it's an app that I just recently discovered and I came to like it. Now, I know you might ask yourself, well, what is the need of actually using Downcast? Why should I use Downcast rather than just use the home or the native podcast app that's available, that comes pre-installed in the iPhone? And even if I accidentally delete it, I can just download it. I mean, why go to Downcast, which is just, by the way, a paid app? It costs about, if I'm not wrong, about $3 in the App Store. So, well, based on my own experience, I find this app to be a little bit more accessible in some places compared to the native podcast app, and we'll see that in just a moment. So, let's get to it. Let's launch the Downcast app.
Dock, phone, page 5 of 5, Downcast.
Okay, there
Double
we are.
tap to open.
Downcast. So I'll double tap on Downcast so that we launch the app.
Downcast, edit, button.
Okay, right. So we have launched Downcast and it's now on screen. So the first thing we are going to look at is the settings, which are very important because the settings will determine how this app Downcast behaves. You know, when it comes to downloading the podcasts, the episodes, and subscribing and all. So we need to go to settings. In order for us to do that, we'll have to look for the tabs that are available, and we do that by single tapping on the bottom right of the screen to see which tabs we have. So I'll just single tap on the bottom right of the screen.
More, tab, 5 of 5.
Okay, this is the 5th tab. Okay, let's see what we have next. I'll swipe left because we are on the bottom of the screen.
Downloads, tab, 4 of 5.
Downloads tab, this is the 4th tab.
Add, tab, 3 of 5.
Add.
Playlists, tab, 2 of 5.
Playlists.
Selected, podcasts, tab, 1 of 5.
Yeah, selected. This is the first tab, which is podcasts. That's what is selected currently. When we launch the app, you can change this in settings. We'll see that in a moment. We'll see how to do that in just a moment. Okay, so I'll go to the 5th tab, the last tab, which is more.
More, tab, 5 of 5. More, tab, 5 of 5.
Okay, so this is the 5th tab. This is what we want. So I'll double tap on this.
Selected, more, tab,
Okay.
5 of 5.
The 5th tab,
podcasts, tab, 1 of 5. Selected, more.
Okay. So the 5th tab, which is more, is selected now. So let's see what we have in this tab. So we have to go to the top of the screen in order to do that. So I'll just single tap on the top left of the screen.
More heading.
Yes, there we are. More heading. So this is the top of the screen. Now let's see what we have in this tab.
Support Downcast button.
Support Downcast. Okay, let's move ahead.
Please rate Downcast.
Please
button.
rate Downcast.
Settings button.
Settings. Okay, so this is what we want. First of all, so I'll double tap on this on this panel of settings.
More back button.
All right, so now we have opened the settings panel, and I might not be able to go through all of the settings, but we'll try to go through the important ones that will really affect your the downloads and the subscriptions, because there are quite a lot of settings actually. So all right, let's move. We are at the top. We are on the top of the screen now of the settings panel. So I'll just move right. I'll swipe right and let's see what we have.
Settings heading.
Okay.
Automatic feed refreshing heading.
So we have something called automatic feed refreshing. Okay, let's move right.
Wi-Fi only. Switch button on. Double tap to toggle setting.
So what this does is that, as the title suggests, automatic feed refreshing. Now when you're subscribed to a podcast, then the feeds will have to be refreshed in order for you to get the latest episodes. And here we have an option. It says Wi-Fi only. Switch button on. I have it as on. So what will happen is that the feeds will only automatically refresh while your phone is on Wi-Fi. Otherwise, they won't automatically refresh. You'll have to go and refresh the feeds manually, and we'll also see how to do that at a later stage in this podcast. Okay, so as we move right.
Scheduled every 24 hours. Button.
Yes, the same thing. It has to do with the feeds refreshing. Schedule, you can change that. I have set it at 24 hours, but you can change that. When you double tap on this, it will give you an option. I think you have 1 hour, 2 hours, even half an hour, I think. I can't remember, but yes, it will give you the options for automatically refreshing after how long do you want the feeds to be automatically refreshed. And just by the way, when the refresh on Wi-Fi only is turned off, it means that the feeds will be automatically refreshed even while your phone is on cellular data. Okay, so this is as far as the time. So if you set it 24 hours like myself, then it will only be automatically refreshed after 24 hours, after every 24 hours, or after 2 hours or 1 hour, depending on your preference. Okay, let's move forward.
Add locations, none.
Add locations. I haven't tampered with these settings, but I guess it has to do with which location do you want your podcast to be refreshed automatically, the feeds to be automatically refreshed. Let's move right.
New episodes action heading.
Okay, yeah, this is also important. New episodes action. Let's see what we have here.
Do nothing button.
Do nothing. Okay. So, which means now here, when you subscribe to a podcast, what do you want to be done with the new episodes? When a new episode is available, the new feed is available, what do you want the app to do, Downcast to do? So I have my settings at do nothing. So when you double tap on this, it will give you options. You have do nothing, which I've selected, and then you also have download the latest episode. If you select that, then it means all the latest episodes will be automatically downloaded. or you have download recent episodes, which means all the recent episodes will be automatically downloaded. And you have other settings. You can obviously come and change the settings here if you want. If you don't want any episode to be automatically downloaded, then you just say do nothing. You come and select do nothing. So no episode will be automatically downloaded unless you go and manually download it. Okay, let's move right. I'm swiping right, by the way.
Playable downloads. Switch button on.
Playable downloads.
Double tap to toggle setting.
Playable downloads. Switch button on. I'll swipe right so that voiceover tells us what this particular function is for. So let's listen carefully.
When enabled, episodes can be played via internet stream while they are in the download queue.
Okay, I think this is self-explanatory. So I'll move forward.
Episodes to keep. Heading.
Good. Now we have episodes to keep. This setting is for, now, for example, you have which episodes do you want to be, to be kept, and which episodes do you, or would you like to, would you like them to be deleted automatically? Right. Let's see what we have here. We swipe right.
Keep all. Button.
Keep all, yeah. So you have keep all. This is what my preference is. Keep all the episodes. Don't delete anything, that is. So if you double tap on this, it will give you options. For example, keep the last 2 episodes, or keep the last 3 episodes, or keep the recent episode, or keep the unplayed episodes. So you can select what you want here. If you want only the unplayed episode to be kept and all the others to be deleted, so this is where you can double tap and select that option. So we'll move right.
Automatic downloading. Heading.
Okay, so you have automatic downloading. Let's see what we have here. Swipe right.
Never. Button.
Never. Okay, now this has to do with something called the download queue. You see, when you download any episode using Downcast, it does that, or it downloads the episode through something called the download queue, and we'll also look at that in a few minutes. So the download queue, when it's set at I have my settings at
never button.
Yeah, never. Okay, which means that whenever I download, when it's set at never, whenever you try to download, or whenever you download, you double tap on download a file, an episode, what it will do is that it will come, the file will be queued on the download queue. It won't be downloaded. You'll have to manually go and go in the download queue and enable the download queue for the file to be downloaded. But if you want, you can set it at always, which means that as soon as you double tap on the automatic download, you can select always. When you double tap here,
never button.
Yes, never. So I have the settings at never. If you double tap on this, you have options like always. Always means that whenever you double tap on an episode, it will automatically be downloaded. It won't be kept in the download queue. It will be downloaded. And if you can also set Wi-Fi only, which means that it will only be downloaded while your phone is connected to the Wi-Fi. And if it's not connected to the Wi-Fi, then it will be queued. It will be kept in the download queue. Okay, let's see what we have next.
Concurrent downloads button.
Concurrent downloads. This is to do with how many files do you want to be downloaded at the same time. You can double tap here and select if you want 1, 2, or 3. Yes.
Player heading.
Okay, this is the player, regarding the player settings.
Stream on Wi-Fi only. Switch button off. Double tap.
Yeah, stream on Wi-Fi only, which means that if this is on, then you'll only be able to stream the episodes while your phone is connected to the Wi-Fi. Let's move ahead.
Continuous play. Switch button off.
Yeah, if this is on, then it means that whenever you play an episode, then as soon as the episode finishes, you'll have the other episode will immediately start playing. If it's off, then as soon as the episode finishes, then no other episode will automatically play. You'll have to manually play the other episode.
Priority play. Switch button off.
Okay, I'll admit that I don't know
Double
what this
tap
is
to toggle
exactly.
setting. Playback speed. button.
Okay, this is where you can come and set the playback speed, what speed you want to the file to or the podcast to play.
Start at beginning.
Start at beginning, yes.
Decrement, dimmed, button, increment, button.
Yes, this is where you can come and set, for example, if you want the file, the episode to play at the start, the beginning, exactly at the beginning, or if you want it to play, let's say, 5 or 10 seconds or 15 seconds after the actual episode has started.
Finish at end. Decrement.
Okay,
Dim,
we are moving
button.
right, by the way. Decrement.
Increment. Force landscape video. Switch
Okay.
button. Off. Lock screen artwork. Switch button. On. Show actions button. Switch gestures. Switch shake for media skip. Dimmed. Media skip forward interval. Media skip backward interval. Button. Remote media skip.
Yeah.
Switch button.
Sorry.
Media skip forward interval.
Okay. Yeah. This one, media skip forward interval and
Media skip backward interval.
media skip
Button.
backward interval. This is where you can set, for example, if you want, whenever you tap on the forward button or skip button, how many seconds do you want it to skip? 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And when you double tap on go back or rewind, then how many seconds do you want it to go back? 10, 15, 20. This is where you come and double tap and select the desired option.
Remote media skip. Switch when enabled. Media skip will be available from the lock screen, control center, and external devices.
Okay.
Volume adjustment. Heading.
This is about to do with the volume adjustment. I'll just have to skip this.
Minimum volume 50%. Local sort by date ascending. Local episode sort. Heading.
Okay, this is to do with local episode sort.
Sort by date ascending. Button.
Sort by date ascending. You can come and select how you want the episodes to be sorted.
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous.
Heading. Startup view. Button.
Good. This is also important. Startup view. Now, if you noticed at the beginning of the beginning of the podcast, when we launched Downcast, the first screen to appear was the podcast screen, or the first tab rather. Now, this is where you can come and change the appearance of the app when it launches. What do you want? Which tab or what do you want to appear the first thing when you launch the app? So this way, when you come here,
startup view button.
Startup view, yes. When you double tap on this, it will give you the options for what you want to appear first on the screen while you start up the app. Okay, let's move on.
When in podcasts. Tab.
Oops.
1. Sound effects.
Sorry.
Miscellaneous. Sort by date. Miscellaneous.
Okay.
Startup view. Button.
Yeah. All right. We explained this.
Sound effects. Button.
Good. This is also very important. Now, this is one of the things or one of the features that I like in this app, and which wasn't available in the native podcast app. When you double tap on this, it will give you an option where, if you want, for example, do you want the sound effects? Do you want to be notified by sound? It has some clicking sounds. So to say, do you want to be notified when the file has completed downloading, or when the feeds are when the feeds are refreshing and have been refreshed, and other notifications do you want to be notified by sound? Or you can come and when you double tap on this,
sound effects button.
Yeah, you can also turn them off. If you don't want any sound effects, you can just turn them off. All right, and by the way, this has nothing to do with the voiceover sound effects. Okay, so this is the sound effects for the app. So just don't confuse this with the voiceover sound effects. Okay, let's move forward.
Local notifications button.
Okay.
Icon badge. Podcast discovery region. Automatic screen locking. Portrait lock. Media backup. When enabled, media backup. Switch button. Off. Double tap to toggle
media
setting.
backup. Okay, media backup. Let's swipe right and see what voiceover tells us about this function.
When enabled, podcast media files will be included when iOS backs up Downcast to iCloud or iTunes.
Okay, so if you need your files to be, automatically backed up, then this has to be
media backup. Switch button off.
Yeah, this has to be on. Okay, so if it's on, then in my case it's off, but if it's on, then it means it will automatically back up the files that you have downloaded. All right,
when enabled, podcasts tab. Okay.
So we are done with the settings. As I said, I haven't gone through all of the settings, but I think we covered the major settings, and the rest maybe you could try and come and experiment on them. So we'll go out of this panel of settings. I'll single finger tap on the top of the screen, top left of the screen.
3 of 3 Wi-Fi. Sorry. More. Back button.
Yeah, there you are. Double tap on the back button.
Settings button.
Okay, settings. So let's move ahead, see what we have in this screen. Remember, we are still in the fifth screen, which is called More. So we finished with settings. Let's see what we have next.
Tools button.
Tools. Okay, let's double tap on tools and see what we have here.
More. Back button.
All right, I'll swipe right.
Tools. Heading. Export podcast subscriptions.
Okay, you have something to do with export podcast subscriptions.
Delete shared files.
Delete shared files. If you've any files that you've shared, you can come and delete them here.
Reset podcast settings.
Reset podcast settings. This will, when you double tap on this, it will give you the option to reset all the settings. That means that it will reset all the Downcast settings to the factory or the default settings.
Import media files.
Import media file. This is also a very important feature, although I haven't used this, but I suppose it's a feature, or it's through where you can download, you can upload files to this app, and maybe if you can you have your own podcast, you are a publisher of a podcast or something, then you can I guess you can upload the files through this option. As I said, I haven't tried this out. Let's see what we have.
Podcasts.
Okay.
Tab.
We are done with this tools panel, so we'll go out.
More. Back button.
All right. Double tap on the back button.
Tools button.
Okay, let's move ahead. We are still on the fifth screen, which is More. Now we finish with settings, tools. Let's see what we have next.
iCloud sync button.
Good. iCloud sync. Now let's double tap on this.
More. Back button.
All right. Let's move ahead. Right.
Syncing options. Heading.
Okay, syncing options.
Settings. Disabled. Last uploaded 9/27/18.
All right. Okay, settings disabled. So let's just move right and see what.
Settings disabled. Last uploaded 9/27/18. 9:33 a.m. Last downloaded never. Switch button off.
All right.
Double tap to toggle setting.
Good. So if you double tap on this, the settings will be, it will be on. In my case, it's off, but you can turn this on, which will mean that when Downcast backs up, when it backs up the data or its data to iCloud, then the settings that you had will also be backed up. All right, this has to be on if you want the settings to be backed up. Let's move ahead.
Episodes disabled. Last uploaded episodes disabled.
All right, I also have this as off, but you can turn this on, which will mean that all the episodes will be, if it's on, then all the episodes that you downloaded will also be backed up in iCloud and in iCloud. So if you go ahead, you'll have other settings if you want the podcast to be backed up, the links and all, which I won't go through all the different settings here, but you can come and choose what you want to be backed up in iCloud. This is where you come and choose which data you want to be in this app to be backed up in iCloud, whether it's the settings, or if you want only the episodes, or only the settings, or only the podcast links, or you want everything. This is where you come and turn on what you want to back up and turn off what you don't want to be backed up. Okay, so let's go out of this.
More. Back button.
All right. Double tap on the back button.
iCloud sync button.
Okay, we finished with iCloud sync. Now, I think for now, this is enough for this.
Help and feedback.
Okay, help
button.
and feedback. Help and feedback. All right. I think this is quite enough for the fifth tab, which is more. Now, let's go to how to now find the podcast, a podcast that you want, how to find podcast to download and to subscribe. Okay, so I'll go back to where we have the tabs on the bottom right of the screen.
Selected. More. Tab.
Okay, this is
Five of five.
This is what we have selected.
Downloads.
Downloads.
Tab.
Okay.
4 of
no.
5. Add. Tab.
Add.
3 of 5.
Very good. All right. This is what we want. Add. So we double tap on the third tab, which is add.
Add podcasts. Heading.
Good. Now this is where we have. This is where you come and look for the podcast that you want to add.
Add podcast manually. Button.
Add podcast manually. Okay, this is where you come and if you want to manually add the podcast, you put in the URL, and I haven't ever done this personally, so I would prefer going to
search for podcasts. Button.
Yes, search for podcast. I just swiped right, by the way. Okay, so search for podcast. This is what we want. Okay, so we double tap on this. And by the way, before we double tap on this, let's just move ahead and see what we have.
Top podcasts. Heading.
Okay, top podcasts. Now here it gives you the option. You have some top podcasts. It will give you suggestions for the top podcast if you might want to look through them. Let's just see what we have as first suggestion.
All. Button.
Okay, this is all.
Arts. Button.
Arts. Okay, they're different categories, right? We have different categories: arts, news, and all. But if you want, you can just browse through these different categories. But for now, I want us to go to search. So I'll swipe back left and go back to
all. Button.
Search.
Top podcast. Search for podcasts. Button.
There we are. Search for podcast. Double tap on this.
Search field is editing. Insertion point at start.
Okay. Now here you can type the name of the podcast that you want. And one very important thing is you have to be quite accurate while searching for or typing the name of the podcast that you're looking for. And it's also the same in the native iOS podcast app. You see, it's not like YouTube, because YouTube sometimes you might type a different name, but then it will give you some close suggestions. Excuse me, but it doesn't work. So it doesn't work such in the podcast. So you have to be quite accurate. All right. So this is where we type the name of the podcast that we want. Now, in order to save time, to try and save time, actually, I have the name of the podcast copied. I had it copied prior to recording this podcast. So what I'll do is I'll come and paste it here using the router settings.
Edit. Paste.
Okay. Double tap.
Freedom Scientific.
Okay. Freedom Scientific. This is what I am looking for. All right. So, okay, I did it. I copied this and pasted. Now, if you assume we typed it, okay, we finished typing. So now we want to search. What we do, you single tap on the bottom right of the screen.
Search.
There you are. On the bottom right of the screen, there is a search button. Let's double tap on this.
Search. Freedom Scientific. Search field.
Okay, Freedom Scientific. Okay, we let's swipe right to see what results we have.
Searching for podcasts. Ellipsis.
Okay, still saying searching for podcasts.
Freedom Scientific. Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Status. Audio.
Alright.
Not subscribed. Published. Friday, the official podcast of Freedom Scientific, leaders in assistive technology for blind people.
Okay, all right. It's actually the first result that appeared. And this is what I'm looking for. This is the podcast that we are looking for. All right, now what I'll do is I'll swipe right. I'll be a bit fast, but there's something that I need to show you in this app which I really like. You see just the other results we have here.
One podcast.
Okay, that's good. Just one podcast. That's the result that has come up. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. It says
one podcast.
One podcast. So, assuming we had 10 results, after going through the results, all the results, at the bottom it will say 10 podcasts. 10.
One podcast.
Yeah, 10 podcasts. Now it's saying one because it's only one result that came up. So this is a feature that I really like in this app. It's not available in the iOS native app. Because it tells you how many results came up, and voiceover goes through, when you're reading through the results, voiceover will read for you all the results. Unlike the native podcast app, sometimes voiceover would skip, some of the results. It won't read for you everything, and at the end of it won't even tell you, how many results came up. So this is one feature that I really like, although the limit for the results is 50. Sometimes you might type the name of a podcast and 50 results might appear, but that's the highest number, although there might be more than 50 results. I wish they could actually maybe have an option where you could change the limitation to 50, to give all the results, or 50 or 20, or their desired options. I wish they could do something about this, but yeah, it's a very good option, and also very important to remember when you're browsing through the results. It's always good to start from the bottom of the screen, going downwards, that is swiping right. Then voiceover will read for you all the results. But otherwise, if you go on the opposite direction, that is start from the bottom and going upwards, that is you swipe left, then voiceover tends to skip some of the results. But yeah, okay, so let's go back to Freedom Scientific, the podcast that we want.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Status, audio, not subscribed. Published, Friday. Okay,
so here it reads out for you the information, the status and the information of this podcast. That means that it's not subscribed, and it's published with the date when it's published, and if it's available, and all those things. Okay, so this is the podcast we want. Let's double tap on this.
Search, back button.
Good. So we are in the Freedom Scientific podcast screen now. So we're on the top of the screen. Let's swipe right to see what we have.
Add podcast. Heading.
Okay.
Subscribe. Button.
There you are. Subscribe. If you double tap on this, it will subscribe. But for now, I don't want us to subscribe as yet. Let's move forward and see what we have.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast.
Okay.
Category.
I'm swiping right, by the way.
Tech news. Type. Audio. Feed URL. http:// published. Friday 4:04 a.m. The official podcast of Freedom Scientific, leaders in assistive technology for blind people.
Okay, is the information about the podcast.
View episodes. Button. View episodes.
Good.
Button.
This is the bottom of the screen. View episodes. Now, if you double tap on this, it will give you all the available episodes. You see, sometimes when you're looking for podcasts, sometimes you just want to download an episode or two. You don't really want to subscribe. So this is what you can do. You can come here without subscribing and double tap on this.
View episodes. Button.
View episodes. Double tap on this and just download whatever you want to download. All right. But for now, I don't want us to download from here. Not yet. we now need to go back to subscribe button and subscribe. So I'll move left. I'll go to the top of the screen, that is. Well, not exactly at the top, but I'll swipe left.
The official podcast of Freedom Site.
We are going backwards, so I'll swipe left.
Friday, public. 8, feed your audio. Type. Tech new category. Freedom Site. Subscribe. Button.
Okay, there you are. Subscribe. Alright, so I'll double tap on the subscribe button.
Subscribed. Dimmed.
Alright, now normally what will happen is that it will, when you have the hints, sorry, not the hints, what are they called, the sound effects in the app, we saw that in the settings. When they're enabled, it will give you a click sound to show that it has been the podcast has been subscribed to. But I guess since I'm using the phone to record, I guess that's why it's not giving me those sounds. I guess that is the reason, because I have the sound effects on. Anyway, we have subscribed. So
subscribed. Dimmed. Button.
Yeah, you see, subscribe, dim. So it means we have already subscribed to this podcast. Alright, let's go out of this now.
Search. Back button.
Okay, we'll go out. Double tap on back.
Freedom Scientific FS add podcasts. Back
Okay,
button.
we'll go out of the ad of the search box, because we are still in the search box. We'll go out of that. Back. Double tap on the back button.
Add podcasts. Heading.
Okay, so we came back to the main screen for add podcast. Now we have already added the podcast that we wanted. So where do we find it now? Let's see. Let's go back to the tabs of the bottom of the screen, bottom right of the screen.
More. Tab.
More.
5
okay.
of 5.
Swipe left.
Downloads. Tab.
No.
Selected. Add. Tab.
No.
Playlists. Tab.
Playlists.
2 of 5.
No.
Podcasts. Tab. 1 of 5.
Okay, podcasts. There you are, the first tab. This is where you'll find all your podcasts. Let's double tap on this.
Selected. Podcasts. Tab.
Podcast
1 of
selected.
5.
Okay, let's go to the top of the screen.
Edit. Button.
Yeah, I just went. I tapped at the top left of the screen. Now we are at the top of the screen. So,
podcasts refreshed 59 minutes ago. Heading.
All right, podcasts.
Double tap to refresh all podcasts.
Okay, so this is where you'll find all your podcasts, all the subscribed podcasts, and even those that you haven't subscribed to. Because what will happen is, for example, you went to a podcast. Let's say we went to Freedom Scientific just now, and we just downloaded an episode. We didn't subscribe to it. I'm giving an example. We didn't subscribe. We just downloaded an episode. What will happen is that the Freedom Scientific podcast will be available here. It won't be subscribed, so the feeds won't be refreshed. That is to say that you won't get the latest episodes. So this is where you have all your podcasts. So let's look for Freedom Scientific now. We are subscribed to Freedom Scientific anyway.
Find podcasts. Search field.
Find podcast. Okay, another important
Double tap
point.
to edit.
Another important point to remember also, here it says find podcast. Now this, don't confuse this with the search box that we had in the add tab, because this, if you double tap on this and you start looking for new podcasts, it won't give you any new podcasts. This is just for the podcasts that are available in your in this particular tab. It's not for the new podcast. Okay, let's move left, right.
Unplayed.
We're moving right, sorry, not left. Okay, unplayed.
The documentary podcast. 1 unplayed. Last published today.
Alright, so unplayed, which means that I have some episodes in this particular podcast that have not yet been played.
القارئ الشيخ أبو بكر الشاطري.
Okay, this is also just podcast that I am subscribed to.
Played/empty. Heading.
Alright, this is now another category, played or empty, which means that either the episodes or the podcasts available here are empty, that is, there is no downloaded or streamed episode, or there is no episode which is not played. which is unplayed. Okay. All right. Let's see what we have here. Move right.
Applevis podcast. One played.
Move right.
Last The Compass. No episodes.
Right.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. No episodes. Last published Friday.
Freedom Scientific podcast. Okay. So this is what we want. Let's double tap.
Podcasts. Back button.
Okay. We are now on the Freedom Scientific podcast. So let's see what we have here. We have already subscribed to this. We already subscribed to this podcast. So let's move right.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Heading. Find episodes. Search field.
Episode. We are just moving right.
The official podcast of Freedom Scientific. View other available episodes. Button.
Okay. View other available episodes. All right. Now this is similar to view available episodes. So this is where we'll come and download the podcast, the episodes. But before we do that, let's just move forward and see what we have.
No episodes.
No episodes. It means that there is no available episodes. We haven't downloaded any episodes.
Edit button.
Edit. With the option to edit, select the episodes and all.
Podcast details. Button.
Good. Podcast details. I like this feature. If you double tap on this, it will give you all the details regarding this particular podcast. It will even take you to the on the publisher's page, where you can actually go and look for the other podcast for the publishers, for these particular publishers, or for any other publisher of the podcast. In our case now, it's Freedom Scientific. So let's and it's very, very much navigable, by the way, because we had this. There is a similar feature in iOS podcast app, but unfortunately you can't. VoiceOver just doesn't read for you all the available options there. So this is another feature that I enjoy in this app. Okay, let's move right.
Actions button.
Actions.
Podcast settings button.
Podcast settings. Yes, this is also something important, because what you can do is we have, let's say, we have in the settings, in the global settings, in the screen where we had the settings, we set the episode download or keep. For example, we said keep all episodes, where we had the settings for which episodes do you want kept, so on which do you want deleted. We said keep all episodes. Now what you can do here,
podcast settings.
Podcast settings. I like this because you can set settings for individual podcasts. When you double tap on this, it will give you an option. For example, regarding keep which episodes to keep, it will give you an option. You can choose for either obey global settings, which will mean that it will go, the app will behave according to the global settings, or you can choose different settings if you want. For example, keep only unplayed episodes, only for this particular podcast. So you can set settings, different settings for individual podcast here.
Podcast settings button.
Podcast settings, yeah. So this is also another very cool feature about this app.
Podcast settings button.
Okay, we are done with this. So let's go now and see how we can download an episode.
Actions.
We are moving
button.
Left now.
Podcast edit. No episode. View other available episodes button.
View other available episodes. Okay, double tap on this.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Back button.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Okay. Now, let's move right and see, look at the episodes that are available.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Heading. Find episodes. the official podcast of Freedom Science, FScast 159.
Okay.
Archive of the September 2018
Good. So here we are. We have all the episodes now that are available. So this is the latest episode.
FScast 159.
FScast 159. This is the latest episode available. And after this we have
Episode details. FScast 159.
Episode
Archive
details.
of the September 2018 FS Open Line. Button.
Alright. This is where you have the actions.
Double tap for episode details.
This is where you have the details for this particular episode. Now there's a particular episode I'm looking for. So I'll just move right.
FScast 158. Eric Damery unveils JAWS 2019. Episode details.
Yes, it also reads for you the information about the particular podcast. You know what is in that podcast, that what's being discussed, and you know what it is all about. So let's move right.
FScast 157. Archive of episode. FScast 156. Announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8. Scholarship winner Kania Flores.
Okay, good. This is the episode I wanted, or I want actually, and I chose a Freedom Scientific podcast for a particular reason, which I'll explain in a while. So now let's double tap on this episode and see what options we have. Remember, we also have this. If you swipe right on, after every episode, you have
episode details. FScast 156. Announcing FS Open.
Episode details. We don't want that for a moment. Okay, what we want is to click on or to double tap on the episode itself.
FScast 156. Announcing FS Open.
Alright, so we are focused on the episode FScast 156. Alright, not on the information, but on the episode, on the actual episode. So you double tap on this.
Alert. Download. Button.
Good. You have download. This is the first option. So if you double tap on this, it will be downloaded. Okay, and depending on your setting, it will either be downloaded or be put on the download queue. If we move right,
mark for streaming button.
Mark for streaming. Okay, so mark for streaming. Let's swipe right.
Stream now button.
Stream now. Okay, now for now, what I want us to do is I want us to stream this episode, and I'll explain why. Not download it first. We'll stream it, then we'll come back and download. So we'll double tap on the screen, on the stream button, and then I'll go and pause the episode, and then we'll explain what we'll do next. Okay, so double tap on the stream button.
Back button.
Stream now, that is. Okay.
Skip back 30. Skip back. Skip 4. Skip 4. Additional episode. FScast introduction.
In FScast episode 156, we introduce you to our latest communication initiative, FS Open Line. We talk about Skype support in JAWS now that our new Skype 8 support is available. And we
play.
Okay, so we're streaming. We are not yet downloaded. We haven't yet downloaded this episode. We are streaming. I paused it so that we could explain the features that are available when we are playing, when we are streaming the episodes. And these features will be available while you're streaming the episode, and even while you've downloaded the episode and you're playing the episode, they will be available. So let's go back to the top of the screen and see what we have.
Back button.
Okay, so we're in the player screen.
Skip back 30 seconds button.
Skip back 30 seconds. Okay, so about skip back and
skip back 15 seconds.
Skip back 30. You have
skip forward 30. Skip forward 2 minutes button.
Okay, you have these options.
Additional episode actions button.
Additional episode actions. Okay.
Freedom Scientific FScast. FScast 156. Announced Freedom Scientific FS Cast 8/23/18 6:14 p.m.
What's the information?
Jonathan Mawson. Kania Flores. We're launching a new global call-in show. Jonathan Mawson then demonstrates the We meet Kania Flores. Recipient and in keeping with our...
And I'm moving right, by the way.
Episode play position 16 seconds. 55 minutes 40. Continuous play is off. Button. Previous. Button. Play. Button. Next. Button. Normal playback speed is on. Button. Volume. 100. Sleep timer disabled. Share media file for FS Show chapters for FS Cast 156. Announcing FS open line.
Very good. This is what I wanted to explain. Show chapters. Now, one very good feature or enhanced feature of this app is that for those podcasts, on those publishers that support chapters, and their podcast, you have this feature enabled in this or available in this in Downcast. So, for example, Freedom Scientific do support chapters that is to say that their podcast is divided into or are divided into chapters. So you can skip through the podcast through chapters. By chapters. You don't have to fast forward and rewind and all. You can just skip through chapters. But this option will only be available if the publishers of the podcast do support this particular feature of chapters. That is, if they do not support, then this feature won't be available here. So when you
show chapters for FS Cast 156, announcing FS.
Alright, if you double tap on this, it will show you all the available chapters in this particular podcasts. But you don't have to necessarily do this unless you want to see which chapters are available. Or otherwise,
share media sleep timer disabled.
We're moving left,
button.
By the way. We're moving back.
Volume 1. Normal playbacks. Next. Button. Tap for next episode or chapter. Tap and hold for fast forward.
Okay. So this is the next button. So what will happen is when you're playing an episode, alright, when you're playing an episode, and you come here to the next button, when you double tap on this, if the podcast you're listening to supports chapters format, then when you double tap on this, it will skip by chapter. It will skip forward by chapter. It will go to the next chapter. Or otherwise, if it doesn't support the chapters format, then it will just go to the next available episode. All right, and the same as
play previous button.
Previous.
Tap to go to previous episode or chapter. Tap and hold for fast reverse.
Yeah, so if you want to go to the previous chapter, if it's supported in the podcast you're listening to, then you just double tap here. Okay. Right. Let's go out of this particular screen because there is another very important thing that we have to see.
Recorder.
Sorry.
Back button.
Okay, I came back to the top of the screen, so I'll double tap on the back button.
Back FS Cast 155. New software episode
okay.
Details. FS Cast 155. Right. New software release.
Okay, so we are still on the episodes page. I want us to go out of the available episodes page.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Back button.
Alright, so I came back to the top of the screen. Single tap on the top left, and now we are on the back button. Double tap on the back button.
Meet a couple of the net.
Sorry about that.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Back button.
I did a double finger, 2-finger double tap, which I shouldn't have done. Anyway, we are at the. Well, let's double tap on the back button.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Back button. Podcasts. Back button.
Okay. All right. So.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Heading.
Right. We are out of the downloads page, but we are still in the podcast in the Freedom Scientific page. Okay. Now, remember, we did not download the episode. We did not download that particular episode. We just streamed the episode, and even not the whole of it, just a part of it. So the reason I deliberately did this, and why did I do this, is so that we can see, for example, now we have this episode, it's streamed. Let's look for it.
Podcast player, FScast 156.
All right, we are moving
announcing
right anyway.
FSO, find episodes. The official podcast of FScast 156. Announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8. Scholarship winner Kania Flores. And we hear again from Cricket Biddleman. Status, now playing. Audio, stream, partially played. Duration, 55:30.
All right. So you see, this is where you have all your downloaded podcasts and all your streamed podcasts. This is where you get them. Okay, it's just before
episode details. View other available episodes. Button.
All right, it's just before view other available episodes. Before this, you'll get all the available episodes. That's the episodes that you have downloaded and you have streamed. Now, let's say we have streamed this particular episode. Okay, but now you want to download it. How do you do it? Okay, I streamed, because you see, when you go to
view other available episodes button,
view other available episodes. Now, when you double tap on this particular episode that we streamed won't be available there. It won't show. It won't be shown in that particular list. So now, how do you go back and actually download this particular episode? We streamed. Yes, we streamed it, but how do we now download? All right. So let's go back to this episode.
Episode detail. FScast 156. Announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8.
Okay, so there we are. Okay, this is the episode. Now I'll double tap on this episode. It will play. I'll go and pause. Then I'll explain what we will do.
Generation of leaders. Kenya Flores, winner of this year's Freedom Scientific Scholarship at the National Federation of the Blind, and Stanford University student Cricket Biddleman, who you may remember was on the podcast before. Always good to have you listening. Thank you so much. There are so many podcasts out there, right? If you would like to be in touch with this one, FS
Play.
Okay, so I pause this. Now, we'll swipe left so that we can find the particular option we are looking for. We swipe left.
Previous. Continuous. Episode played. And in keeping with our theme, we meet Jonathan. We're launching Jonathan 8/Freedom Site Introduction. FScast. Additional episode actions.
There you are.
Button.
Additional episode action. So we double tap on this.
Alert. Episode actions.
Episode actions. Okay, let's move right and see what we have.
Mark as played. Button.
Mark as played. Let's move right.
Lock. Button.
Lock.
Convert to download. Button.
Convert to download. Let's see what we have.
Cancel. Button.
Cancel. That will take you out of this particular wizard. Alright, so we go back to
convert to download. Button.
Convert to download. And before this we had
lock. Button.
Lock. Yeah, this will just lock the episode. This means that it's only you will be able to access the episode. You can put passwords on the episode. But yeah, let's go to
convert to download. Button.
Convert to download. Which will now, if we double tap on this, what will happen is this episode that we streamed will now be downloaded. So this is how you download the streamed episodes. So let's double tap on download.
Back. Button.
Good. All right. So we have now changed the streamed episode to download. That means that it will be downloaded. But since we have, in my case, I have the automatically download disabled. I'll have to go to the download queue and download this podcast. So let me do that. Let's do that. Let's go out of this
back button. Back
screen.
FScast 150 podcasts. Back button.
Back button.
Edit.
We have to
button.
go. Okay. So we are on the main screen now, on the podcast. So now we go to the tabs, the bottom right of the screen.
More. Tab.
More.
5 of 5.
Swipe right, left, sorry.
Downloads. 1 item. Tab. 4 of 5.
There you are. Download. It said 1 item. Let's double tap on that. Select the download.
Edit. Button.
Okay, so we are on the download tab now. Okay, let's move right and see what we have.
Downloads. Heading. Podcast player. FScast 156. And enable download queue.
Okay.
Button.
Okay, enable download queue. Alright, so before we enable this download queue, let's see what we have here. Move right.
Freedom Scientific FScast. FScast 156. Announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8. Scholarship winner Kania Flores. And we hear again from Cricket Biddleman. Size 50.8 megabytes. Queued.
Alright, so it gives you the size and it gives you the status, which is now currently queued. Okay, move right.
Progress 0%.
Progress 0%. Since we haven't started downloading it, then right.
Episode details. FScast 150.
Okay, so this is what we have here. And if you have other available episodes on the download queue, it will also give you those other episodes. So currently we only have this one. So let's go back and enable the download queue.
Progress.
We are moving left.
Freedom Science. Enable download queue. Button.
Yeah, enable download queue. So you just double tap on this.
Pause download queue.
Alright, let's move right and see the progress.
Freedom Scientific progress 9%.
Okay, there it is downloading.
28%. 44%. 62%. 83%. The download queue is empty.
Okay, so the episode has been downloaded. Now, I deliberately went to the downloads page and streamed the episode before downloading so that I could show you how to download a streamed episode, because when you stream an episode, it won't be available on the downloads page anymore. But if you don't want to stream the episode, then you just when you go to the downloads page and you double tap on the episode, when it gives you the download button, you just double tap on download and it will be downloaded according to your settings. If you have the automatic download enabled, then it will automatically download. Otherwise, it will be kept on the download queue. Okay, right, now we have downloaded the episode. Now we want to share this episode. We want to let's say share it to Dropbox or Google Drive or your phone. So how do you do this? Right, let's go out of this download tab, bottom
more tab 5 of 5.
we go to the first tab again, which is podcast.
Selected. Add playlists. Podcasts.
Okay,
Playlists. Tab 2 of 5.
this is the playlist tab. This is where you can come and set a playlist if you want, and you can set all the preferences for your playlist.
Enable download queue.
Sorry.
More. Select. Add playlists. Podcasts. Tab 1 of 5.
Okay, podcast. We double tap on podcast. This is like we come back to the first tab.
Selected. Podcasts.
Alright,
Tab
we've selected podcast.
1 of 5.
The first tab. Let's go to the top of the screen.
Edit button.
Alright, so I look for the Freedom Scientific podcast and I look for the episode that we have just downloaded.
Podcasts.
I'll move right.
Refreshed an hour ago. Heading.
Oh, okay, just by the way,
Double tap to refresh all podcasts.
I almost forgot this.
Edit podcasts. Refreshed an hour ago. Heading. Double tap to refresh all podcasts.
Okay, podcast refreshed an hour ago. Now, if you want to manually refresh the podcast, you just come and double tap here, and it will automatically, automatically just refresh the feeds. So we just double tap on
podcasts. Refreshed an hour ago. Heading.
Okay, so you just double tap on this.
Podcasts. Refreshing now. Heading. Podcasts. Refreshing now. Heading.
It does take some time. Sometimes.
Podcasts. Refreshing now. Heading. Double tap to refresh all podcasts.
Okay, so it's refreshing, and when it's finished, when it's done, it will make a sound to show you that it's finished. But since I'm recording using the phone, it won't do that. But anyway, let's go now and look for the episode that we have downloaded.
Podcast player. Find. Unplayed. The Freedom's.
القارئ.
Okay.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast.
Freedom
One
Scientific.
partially
There you
played. Last Freedom Podcast.
I double tapped on Freedom
Back button.
Scientific. Now let's look for the episode that we have downloaded.
Freedom Scientific Podcast Player. Find episode. The official FS Cast 156. Announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8. Scholarship winner Kania Flores. And we hear again from Cricket Biddleman. Status. Now playing. Audio. Downloaded. Partially played.
Alright, so it gives you all the information and the status. So it told us downloaded, which means this episode is already downloaded. Okay, so now how do we share this episode? You swipe right where you have
Episode details. FS Cast 156.
Details.
Announcing.
Alright, so episode details. You double tap on episode details.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast. Back button.
Okay, right, now we're in the episode details page. So let's move forward and see what we have.
Freedom Scientific Podcast Player. FS Cast 156. And toggle episode image size. Button.
Okay, we move right.
Published.
Publish.
8/23. Type. Audio. Duration. Duration. 55/30. Played. Partially. Status. Downloaded.
Okay, it gives you all the
Size.
information.
50.8 megabyte. Author. Jonathan Mawson. Link. HTTP
It's the website.
/ We're launching a new globe. Jonathan Mawson. We meet Kania. And in keeping with export media file for
Yeah.
FS Cast 156. Announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8.
Export media file. This is the first option. Now, for example, if you're just streaming the particular episode, then this option won't be available. This
Export media file for
export media file option will not be available if you're just streaming the file, if you have not downloaded the file, that is. And then we have
Share episode media file for FS.
okay, share episode media file. This is the normal share feature which is also available in the native podcast iOS podcast app, where you can share the link for this podcast or for this episode. And then if you move right,
Lock episode. Actions. Lock episode. FS Cast 156.
okay, lock episode. This way you can come and lock the episode. You can put password if you want here.
Actions. Button.
Actions.
Button.
All right. This is also kind of it gives you some actions, regarding this particular podcast. So anyway, let's go back to
Share episode. Export media file for FS Cast 156.
okay, export media file. This is what you want. This is when you want to share the actual downloaded media file itself. Okay, so you double tap on export media file.
Alert. Choose how to share FS Cast 156.
Okay.
Announcing FS Open Line.
Choose how to share. Now, here you have some options. Let's swipe right and see what options we have.
Share with computer. Button.
Share with computer. It means you have to plug in, plug in your phone to the computer using iTunes.
Send to application. Button.
Send to applications. Yeah, this is where you can send to, for example, WhatsApp, your email. And the only thing about WhatsApp, and this is, after trying, is that sometimes it doesn't tend to work so well when you're trying to send the file using WhatsApp, especially when the file is very large. I don't know what the exact limitations are. I think 10 MBs or 15 MBs, I'm not sure. But anyway, it sometimes tends not to work so well while you're trying to send a file via WhatsApp. But if it's a small podcast, then I suppose it's okay. Okay, let's move forward.
Copy to storage provider. Button.
Good. This is what you want.
Cancel. Button.
Cancel. This will take you out of this wizard. So
copy to storage provider.
we went.
Button.
I swiped left and came back to copy to storage providers. Let's double tap on this.
Free browse.
Okay. So you have an options here. You have browse
Cancel.
and cancel.
Button. Cancel.
Okay.
Button.
So we move back. We move left and
browse.
double tap on browse.
Freedom site. Cancel. Button.
Okay. Let's move right and see what we have.
Item will be added to file browser on my iPhone.
Okay. You see what happens is whichever, for example, you backed up or you shared a file to a particular storage device or storage provider, the next time you try to open this wizard or this dialog box, it will bring you back to the last storage provider that you used, that you backed up your files. In my case, I used an app called File Browser so that I could back up the files in my phone. So anyway, let's say you want to back up the file in Dropbox. So let's move right.
Add button.
No.
Freedom Scientific FSCast.
Let's move right.
iCloud Drive. Level 1. Collapsed.
iCloud Drive. Here you have
Double
the
tap
iCloud.
to expand.
iCloud Drive.
Drive. Level 1. Collapsed.
Drive.
Double
This
tap
is,
to expand.
if you want the Google Drive, if you want to save the file in Google Drive.
Dropbox. Personal. Level 1. Dimmed.
Okay, then you have Dropbox. In my case, it's saying dimmed because I just don't have enough space for now to save in Dropbox. But if you have Dropbox in your enabled in your phone, then this is
Dropbox. Personal.
yeah. So when you just double tap here and you have enough space, it will give you it will save the file into Dropbox. Okay, so because I don't have enough space in Dropbox, I can't for now save the file into Dropbox. But this is basically how you save the file to Dropbox or any other storage provider you want. Let's just move right and see what other available options we have.
Drive. Level 1. Collapsed.
Drive.
Dropbox. Personal. Level 1. Dimmed.
Dropbox.
On my iPhone. Level 1. Expanded.
Okay, on my iPhone.
Double tap to collapse.
Now in this case, if you want to save the file into your iPhone, you can do that, but you have to have apps that will an app or apps that have access to your phone. That will be their folders will be as your local phone folders. So in my case, I see if I move right.
Downcast. Level 2.
No.
Selected. File browser.
Yep.
Level 2. Expanded.
File
Folder.
browser. Okay, so in my case I have this app File Browser. So it means if I save this file in File Browser, it will be saved in my phone. So anyway, this is where you come and select where you want to save or share the export the media file itself. Remember, it's not the link but the file itself, the episode file itself. Okay, so we go out of this.
Item will be added to file. Cancel button.
Cancel.
Freedom Scientific FSCast. Back button.
Okay, now
Podcasts. Back button. Podcasts. Back button.
okay, so now we have seen how to download, subscribe to podcasts. Now, for example, and even how to stream the podcast and how to change an episode from a streamed episode to download, to a downloaded episode. Okay, so now, what do you do when you want to delete an episode or even delete a podcast? Let's see. So we are still in the Freedom Scientific podcast page. Now let's look for that episode that we downloaded and delete it. So delete it. Right. So we'll move right. We're on the top of the screen now. Let's move right.
Freedom Scientific FS Podcast Player, FS Find Episode.
Okay.
The official podcast of FS Cast 156, announcing FS Open Line. JAWS support for Skype 8.
Alright, so here is the episode that we have downloaded. So what do you do when you want to delete the episode? What you simply do is you scroll down with one finger scroll down.
Delete.
There you are, delete. Okay, let's see if we have any other options. Scroll down again.
Activate. Default.
Okay, then we came back to activate. If you double tap here, it will just play. So scroll down again.
Delete.
Yeah, this is the only option we have. Delete. You double tap on delete.
Performed action. No episodes.
Finished. The episode is deleted. Okay, so how do we delete the podcast itself now? Freedom Scientific. Let's say you don't want to. You don't want the podcast itself. Okay, even before we delete the podcast, something very important I remembered. How do you actually unsubscribe from the podcast? Well, because if we look for the unsubscribe button, it's not available. So what do you do when you want to unsubscribe from a podcast? We'll go back to podcast settings. Let's
edit button, podcast detail, actions, podcast settings,
there
button.
you are, podcast settings. Okay, this was
podcast settings button.
Yes, you double tap on podcast settings.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast back button.
Okay, you double tap on you just move right. Let's see.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast heading podcast heading.
Okay.
Freedom Scientific FS Cast text field. Double tap to edit.
All right.
Auto refresh feed. Switch button on. Double tap to toggle setting.
There you are. I should have mentioned this in the settings, but I think I forgot. Anyway, it says here.
Auto refresh feed. Switch button on. Double tap to toggle setting.
Right. So if you double tap on this, currently it's on. So it means the podcast is still subscribed to. So if you double tap on this and it says off.
Obey global settings.
Sorry.
Beginning. Freedom Science podcast heading. Freedom Scientific auto refresh feed. Switch button on.
Yeah.
Double tap.
Auto refresh feed. If you turn it off, then it simply means you unsubscribe from the podcast. You won't get the latest feed. So this is how you unsubscribe from the podcast. You just come here and double tap on this particular button.
Auto refresh feed. Switch button on.
Yeah, you just double tap here and you will have unsubscribed from the podcast. Okay, so how do we delete the podcast now?
Freedom Scientific FS Cast back button.
Let's go out.
Freedom Podcasts back button.
All right, we'll go out to the main screen.
Edit button.
Okay, we are back in the main podcast screen. So let's look for the podcast that we subscribe to, that is Freedom Scientific.
Podcasts. Find podcasts. Unplayed. The document.
القارئ الشيخ.
Played/empty. Apple Viz podcast. The Compass. No. Freedom Scientific FS Cast. No episodes.
Okay.
Last published Friday.
There you are. Freedom Scientific FS Cast. So now, how do we delete this podcast? The same method. You just scroll down with one finger.
Delete.
There you are. Delete. Double tap on this.
Performed action. Delete. Heart and Soul. One.
Finished. The podcast is deleted. So it's as simple as that. So just before I wind up, I would just like to show you one last feature of this app. By the way, it's not so important. It doesn't really affect the functions and the performance of the of the app, but nevertheless, it's something
More.
I think
Tab. 5 of 5.
it's worth knowing about.
More. Tab.
Right.
5
So
of 5.
I'll go back to the 5th tab, which is more. That's where we had the settings and tools and iCloud sync. Let's double tap on this.
More.
More.
Tab. More. Heading.
Okay, we came to the top of the screen.
Support Downcast.
Yes.
Button.
There you are. Support Downcast. This is what I want us to look at. Double tap on this.
More. Back button. Support Downcast. Heading.
All right, we are moving right now.
Tips keep Downcast's price low while making continued development possible. Thanks for considering thumbs up. Heading.
Okay. Now, when you download it, if you have already downloaded Downcast, you'll have noticed that it says there on the App Store page, in-app purchases. And when you use the app, you don't see any subscriptions or any features that you can unlock or anything. Well, this is what is being referred to as the in-app purchases, is the tips. You can give them tips. And let's see what we have. Let's swipe right and see what we have here.
Why leave a tip? Button.
Okay, why leave a tip? If you want the information, why do you think you should leave a tip?
Options for leaving a tip. Heading.
Okay, they have options for leaving a tip. We are moving right. Let's see.
Encouraging tip. $2.99.
Okay, let's.
Motivating tip. $5.99.
Okay.
Galvanizing tip. $8.99.
Right, again.
Inspiring tip. $11.99.
Okay, we'll move right. Now, these tips are not subscriptions. They won't be charged monthly. It's just charged once. It's not a recurring subscription. It's just charged once to your iTunes account. Let's move right and see what voiceover tells us about this.
Tips are non-recurring purchases. They do not auto-renew. Podcasts.
Okay.
Tab.
Right. So this is about the tips. So if you feel you want to donate something or help the developers, well, you can do so here. And finally, this is all about Downcast. I do apologize for taking a very long time, but I felt it's important to try and explain some of these things in a little bit of detail. So as I said at the beginning of this podcast, I find this app to be a little bit more accessible compared to the iOS native podcast app, as we saw. And it has some enhanced features. For example, you have this navigation by chapter feature where in the podcast which support and the publishers who support chapters in the podcast, then you can navigate through the podcast. You can forward and rewind skip forward and skip back by chapters. So that makes things quite easy, and it's also very easy to use. As we saw, you can subscribe and unsubscribe and delete episodes and podcasts very easily. You can also set you can have settings for individual podcasts and global settings as well. So this is all about Downcast. I do hope that it's beneficial. I hope that you enjoyed. I do again apologize for the very long podcast, but I hope you enjoyed it and hope it's beneficial. So thank you so much again and wish you all the best. Bye bye.